So many riders are grinding and sacrificing every day, knowing they have the talent, but still wondering why the path to the top feels out of reach. You want mentorship, you want opportunity, you want someone to tell you what it honestly takes to go from promising to unstoppable. Today's guest is the definition of unstoppable. Laura Kraut is an Olympic legend and one of the defining riders of her era. Now, she's rethinking what access to the top sport can look like. She gets honest about why some riders move up while others stay stuck, why real horsemanship matters more than image, and how her new program, Road to the Top, is giving more riders a real shot at success. If you are ambitious, hungry, and ready to be coached at a higher level, this episode is for you.
Dear Horse World, it's Laura Kraut.
All right, Laura, welcome to the Dear Horse World podcast.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
So this is really cool. This actually hasn't happened on the podcast yet. You are here because a conversation that took place on the Harry Charles episode initiated a couple people in the community to reach out to me and tell me about Road to the Top, which I think was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it's like one episode is fed into the other. So it's very early. You just shared with me that it's only 10 months old.
10 months in, yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit with everybody what Road to the Top is?
Well, Road to the Top was a concept that Katie Prudent and I came up with. It's been years in the making in our minds, where we noticed that there's sort of a stopgap for young developing riders and not necessarily even just out of the junior division, but even in their 20s, where, you see these incredibly talented, hardworking, driven riders sort of not have a direction that takes them where they should go, which is hopefully the Olympic level. So, maybe some of them end up just taking a job riding hunters or preparing anything to make a living, which I completely respect. I mean, that's they want to be in horses no matter what area it takes them. And so that's what they end up doing. And I think sometimes I wouldn't say that they necessarily get lost in the shuffle, but I do think that they might become disenchanted. They think, oh, this is so far off. It's never going to happen for me. Maybe I should just go to school, or maybe I should, change professions. Maybe I should just do something different.
Yeah.
And we really want to see that not happen. I mean, I think that there's been a lot of discussion over the past few years of, where are the young Olympians coming from? Where is that next group coming?
Yeah.
And I think that obviously there's always a lot of very talented riders, that there's no question. There will never be a shortage of that. But the riders that actually have not just talent, but drive, ambition, intelligence, character, very important. And I think that they need to understand that it's a whole package. And so what our idea was to find a couple of riders and take them under our wing and mentor them and show them what it takes. How does our daily operation work? Huge part of it, management of horses. Many of them have been junior superstars who just carry their saddle from horse to horse to horse, and they have no idea what's going on in the background, of how these horses get prepared and brought to the ring and what they're eating and and not because they're not interested, but because they're so busy, being junior professionals, that they miss that opportunity. And I think that's one of the most important parts of being at the highest level of show jumping is being able to manage your horse, keep it happy, keep it sound, keep it performing well. The other aspect is horse picking. I think that that's a very important quality to have, knowing what horse suits you, what you like in a horse. I think that most of the riders that have made it to a level have that ability. I would say Ken Farrington for sure. I mean, he buys his horses young, he develops them, he knows what he likes, he has a certain type, fast and winning.
Yeah.
People that's what these riders need to learn. What does it take? Oftentimes, and I've said this for years, you'll hear a rider say, "Oh, this has Grand Prix scope." And they've never sat on Grand Prix scope. So how do they know it has Grand Prix scope? So I think, what's interesting is Katie and myself want to help them know what that is so they could recognize it if they see it. And yeah, so I mean, this is the basic premise, is that it's a program where we take kids who now we have a serious application process.
Yeah.
And we bring them under our wing. We provide them 3 to 4 horses. We don't buy horses. So this is a common misconception.
Okay.
We find horses for them, whether people donate them to us just for a period of time, or whether we, have a young horse that we want to develop. Road to the Top pays for the expenses on these horses.
Wow.
So, which is a wow.
Yeah.
It's a wow because one of the things that Katie and I started with was we've always had this passion for helping younger riders, but it's cost prohibitive. I mean, we're trying to take care of our own families and we're trying to run our own business. And then when we add the cost of then trying to help a young rider, it's expensive, and we continue to do it. I mean, Katie has Kathleen Driscoll, and I have Julie Wells, and we're very, driven to keep helping their careers. But now we're going for a younger model to sort of follow them up, and it's very expensive. So we had an incredible sort of kickoff last year. We had a couple of fundraisers. We raised a significant amount of money, which was really exciting. And so we were able to get the program up and running beginning of May 1st.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I took a young rider named Carly McCutcheon, who I think many people know. She comes from a reining dynasty. Her family is, they're like the best reining family in the world. What a lot of people don't know is I trained her mother when she was a junior. And her grandmother and I worked very closely together with not just her mother, but also another student that her grandmother had. So I go back with them a long way.
Yeah.
And Carly is really an incredible talent. She's 19, but I think, in my opinion, I think she's got all the ingredients. Now she's just got to get the experience and get and learn that. And then Katie has a young boy from California named Trent McGee, who also has spent, I think he's 21 or 22. He worked with Archie Cox.
Nice.
All the way up through the equitation. And then afterwards, I think he helped run Archie's business. He's had a big background with hunters and equitation, but his love is doing the jumpers.
Yeah.
And so, and he's very talented rider, wonderful personality. I unfortunately haven't gotten to spend much time with him here in Florida because we're so busy, but he's just got a great person. His personality is fun. He's intelligent. He's smart. He also has a podcast.
Nice. Shout out to Trent's podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think we're both, Katie and I are inspired. I mean, these kids, I think they have the ingredients. Now it's finding more horses, more horses for them to ride. So yeah, I mean, this is the premise of it. It's a lot.
That's a huge endeavor.
It's a bigger endeavor than I think we realized, in that the finding the kids and the teaching the kids is easy. That's the easy part.
And yet many would think that's the huge hurdle.
That's been, I mean, it's fun, it's rewarding, it's frustrating, it's all of the above, but it's what you would expect in trying to get these kids to learn and to get to the top. The part that we don't know about would be the fundraising end of it. And just it's a 501c3.
Okay.
So it's tax deductible, which is great.
That's great.
We know nothing about this. I know how to run my horse business. I don't know how to run a charitable foundation. So we're very fortunate that we have wonderful people involved, help assist
you
with.
seem like you have a wonderfully passionate and very informed group of people that are behind this, and everyone can see on the website all these incredible people that are involved in this initiative, which is only 10 months old. That's amazing.
Yeah, we're very, very fortunate that I think it's a topic that around, within our industry, people have noticed and realized that there is a need for. So we've been very lucky that we've had some incredible, bright minds.
Yes.
Also busy people.
Yes.
Be willing to donate time to help us. So,
well, the saying goes, if you want something done, ask a busy person.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
It's a great saying. Very accurate saying too.
It is very accurate. So, anyways, yeah.
So these two kids, is the goal of this foundation to find riders that would otherwise not have this opportunity if Road to the Top did not get involved?
I think that the goal of the operation is, yes, it's finding the kids that are lacking opportunity, financial opportunity. Is I mean, let's face it, we all know how expensive this sport is.
Yeah. And it's getting more expensive almost by the day.
By the day.
Yeah.
And what I say all the time, when I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, catch riding was a huge thing. People would bring their horses to the show and they'd ask me to ride them, or they'd ask Katie to ride them, or Kent or McLean or whomever. But catch riding was a big deal. So I got all of my vast amounts of riding in by doing catch rides.
Yeah.
So
funny enough, I also I feel like it was more of a thing even when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And you don't see it as much anymore.
Hardly at all.
Yeah.
I mean, you really don't. And I'm not 100% sure why. I think a lot of it is the horses are so expensive now. So if somebody buys a horse, they're either buying it for one of their family members, or they're going to give it to a rider that's an established winning rider.
Yes.
So they're not going to take a chance and say, you know what, I'm going to give this to a young kid here that I think has promise. Yeah. On the off chance that they don't do a good job, or they just don't win because they can't beat, the McLeans and the Kents that are out there.
Yeah.
So it's the opportunities aren't there like they used to be. So this was sort of our thinking is we can provide them, 3 or 4 horses. We would appreciate and love that they get some catch rides outside of the program. Ultimately what we're hoping is that we keep rotating horses. So, they'll ride for a few months, and then maybe one will get sold. Then another one can come in. Or the person who owns the horse says, okay, I'm out of school now, I'm going to ride it. Then we get another one in. So I think like last summer, I would say Carly had the opportunity to ride probably, I'm going to say 8 or 9 different horses, which was great.
Which is key.
Because every horse you ride, you learn something from. Yeah. And, it was very good for her. And I know Trent is the same. I think the word that I would like to get out to people is this is an incredible opportunity if you are an owner of a horse.
I was just thinking that.
I mean, how great would this be?
You get to have a horse of yours in Laura Kraut's or Katie Prudent's program.
Yeah, like being ridden by a very talented rider
within a hugely professional program, well-established program.
And it's free. It's for them. So, this is what I'm really hoping will take a hold. And we are only 10 months old. So
Yeah.
a lot of people don't know how this operates, but it's a great opportunity for them as the owner, and then obviously for us and for the rider. But yeah, I mean, the idea is that we keep providing these kids with different horses to ride and different experiences. And
I think this is really cool, like almost a beautiful call to action in this episode, because what you guys are doing is actually saying, no, there are opportunities. We're creating opportunities, and these opportunities are available to young riders, but they're also available to horse owners. I think that's like a big part, is you guys are almost using the economics
yeah,
of the industry to create opportunity where there needs to be more, which is both because there are lots of great horses across this country, but they may not have the opportunity to be in a place like Wellington or even on Ocala or along the East Coast circuit or along the California circuit. But basically what Road to the Top is creating is the opportunity to dispel that myth.
exactly. I mean, I think that it's a huge opportunity for someone, and even a person who thinks I could never have gotten a horse to go to Wellington. And, they could send the horse, and then they get to come and watch it, or they watch it on video.
Yeah.
What the kids are really good at is, we've got a WhatsApp group.
Great.
So they post their videos. And so, right now, all of the donors and the owners of some of the horses get to see their videos nearly within hours of when they've competed. And
Amazing.
they've been really good at posting the good and the bad, which I think is important. I think that the people need to understand that it's not a trajectory that's just straight up. I mean, and even still, I'm nearly 60 and I have a very, up, down day or week or month. So that's how it's going to be for them. And important that they know that.
I think it's important that we all know that.
Yeah.
That social media, and it's interesting, a lot of guests talk about social media. They talk about its benefits and they talk about its downfalls. And I think it's very important for horse sports specifically, and for the pursuit of great horsemanship, that it doesn't become a highlight reel, right? Because I think that falsifies what this journey of great horsemen and horsewomen is, which is the great days and the not so great days, right?
100%. I mean, I think that, you'd love to think that every day is a great day. And when they only see the great video or the wonderful round, wow, this is, well, that's fairyland. And yeah, I mean, there's probably, I think, okay, the one thing I would instill is that, if you're around horses and you're getting to do this every day is a great day. But the ups and downs and the emotions and the just, a horse getting injured or you getting injured or, having a bad round when you thought you were going to have a good one. Just there's many times when things don't go as you think it should. And it's disappointing, and just the ability to put it behind you, pick yourself up and get going and keep going. I mean, I think that's the sign of any top athlete, whatever sport they're in.
Yes.
And, but I think the added part of the horse element, because we love them so much that, you don't want, I think that I know it myself for sure. There's that element of guilt when you feel like you've let them down, or so I think, it's important though that they know that we all feel this, we all experience it. And, we're here to do the best job we can for those horses. And that's what I want to teach them.
I think community also plays a big part. I love that you guys have created a WhatsApp group, because I think a lot of people in the horse world, especially when we talk about like people feeling like there's a lack of accessibility, or that, you even talked in the beginning of the episode about people get discouraged or even a bit sort of jaded by the financial burdens or the financial mountains that exist to be able to do this. I think one of the great antidotes to that is like community buy-in
Mm-hmm.
So it's really cool that I think whoever's involved, even if, and it sounds like speaking with some of the people that are involved who reach out to me after our our podcast where Harry Charles said, it was so interesting how many people within the American system reached out and responded to and he didn't say anything negative. He just said in an observation of what takes place here from a sport level, he didn't think that he'd be able to get to the level that he is at if he had been raised in the United States.
That's very accurate. I say all the time, if I were my 18-year-old, 19-year-old self, I don't know that I would make it. I mean, it'd be hard to say now.
Right.
It would be very hard to say.
So it's so inspiring that not only are you guys, so there's people, and I think it's important for the horse world, some of which there are many of our listeners who have never been to Wellington. They've watched it maybe online, but they've not actually experienced what this circuit feels like, and this is a great example. This circuit is an example of like all the great and all the accessible and less accessible aspects of horse sport. It's really important, I think, for the horse world to hear that there are people at the very top, like yourself, that are fundamentally addressing this issue head on with organizations like Road to the Top.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a big undertaking because I think it's an idea that I'm sure a lot of people have talked about it, and it's very easy to talk about, oh yeah, well, where's the next generation come? Nobody's teaching them, nobody's doing anything. And I think the thing that I'm proud of is that we've actually done it, with the help of many people, but um, and it's off the ground and it's going. So I think we we will make this work. I mean, it's going to be tough. I think the fundraising part of it is hard. I think we're still in the learning stages of how to do this, because I think we've had some wonderfully generous people who have donated, large amounts of money to this, which has been just, it was actually overwhelming to me. Yeah. I was so in awe of it last year. I just couldn't believe it. But I think that what we really want to do is figure out a way to reach out to the people who would love to be a part of this or feel a part of it, but only can donate $100 or $10 or $1,000 or whatever, and have them feel like they're part of this new generation of
this new initiative.
Yeah, exactly. And so we're working on ideas for that, and it's I know with any new business, any venture of any kind, it takes years. And, of course, we're used to this. We want it right now.
Yes.
So I think we've got some great ideas. It's going to take some time. It's why I'm appreciative of getting to do this podcast, because I'm hopeful that people can understand, because a lot of people just don't even understand what it is. And so I think that this will hopefully help dispel any of the misconceptions or just not knowing.
Well, and I think what's really cool to mention and to really highlight here is that what you just mentioned about being able to donate $10, $100, $1,000, and because it's a 501(c), it's tax deductible. So there are people listening who there are, I think, a fair few of our listeners who understand they either have 501(c)s or they have been involved in them, and everyone knows that there are benefits to that. So I think that's really incredible that you guys have created something that also allows for small donations, not just, I think that's like a big sort of important myth to dispel, is that every little bit helps. Kickstarter is a thing for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Because every little bit of support helps, and creating a community around what you guys are doing, I think, is really powerful, because people in the horse world, I think now more than ever, they want to feel part of something, but they may not feel like they have the ability to be part of something like that.
Well, and I will say, as particularly at this level, there is it feels elite, and it is elite. I mean, there is a certain level of you've got to have wealth to be able to really participate at this level, whether it's your owners or, whatever, or yourself. So I think this is an opportunity for people who feel like maybe they could never be a part of this to be a part. And I think like I said before, what's fun about it is I think with the WhatsApp group and we're doing newsletters and we're doing, we're going to try to do a lot of things again.
And swag.
We got the swag. I think, I'm hoping that it'll make people feel closer to the sport that think that they could never be close to this, and they could say, oh my gosh, Trent McGee just won the Grand Prix in Traverse City.
Yes.
We're part of that, which I think would make them feel even more enthusiastic and maybe get other people involved. And you just never know what the carry on would be. But that's sort of what we want. I mean, what we really also want is the United States to be behind U.S. riders. This has been a big topic for longer than I wish. But we are dealing with a large number of U.S. owners buying horses for foreign riders. And there's many reasons for that and not negative ones, whether you just happen to be great friends with that rider from Germany, or you're great friends with the owner of the rider from Ireland, and you think, oh, that'd be fun, that.
Yes.
So it's not a malicious reason for any of them, I would say. I think they all have their reasons, but I would really love it if they said, okay, well, we're going to buy a horse for this rider from Germany, but we're also going to buy a horse for this rider from the United States, so that we're still supporting our riders at home.
Yes.
We're going to support our good friend.
Yes.
But we'd like to support the riders at home. And I think that's another thing with Road to the Top is what we're hoping to do is produce riders that these owners can say, hey, I think I'm going to buy that rider a horse. I think I'm going to support that rider. I think that she or he looks like they've got what it takes, and I'd love to get behind that. And I think there has been a shortage of that over maybe the last 10, 15 years. So we're going to try to turn that around.
Do you think the same is true of like, if you were to switch it, do you think the same is true of like, do foreign buyers buy for American riders?
Not that I'm aware of.
Because I'm not aware.
No. I mean, I base in Europe for for 9 months of the year. And yes, I have ridden some horses for people from Europe, but they haven't bought them. I might ride a horse that they bred, but they didn't say, oh, I'd love to buy horses for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I respect that.
Yeah.
I don't criticize that. I think Peter Wilde, he based over there and he's magnificent. Mm-hmm. And I think he struggled because, he's not going to get an owner in Europe.
Right.
And
the European owners buy for
European
riders.
Yeah. I mean, the German owners buy for German riders.
That I know that to be very true. Yeah.
And
they're very
patriotic. Yeah. And it's funny because I think, here in the United States, we are very patriotic.
One would argue one of the most patriotic
I know.
in the world.
So it is confusing a little bit to me, but I try to see it from both sides.
Yeah.
And I do understand that there is a gap from the old guard, which I'm a part of, to the next regime coming on. And we've got some incredibly talented riders, in their 20s, 30s.
Yeah.
But they all, or many of them have the means to do it for themselves.
Yeah.
So I think that, you take an owner who's looking to put a horse with a person. Well, why am I going to put it with that person when her family can pay for it themselves?
Right.
So, which is great for them.
Yeah.
And again, no criticism meant at all. I mean, I think the thing that's interesting for me, and I said this right from the beginning, when we started this idea is, those riders are outstanding, and we've seen them in the Olympics and the World Championships, and they've done an enormous job. They've helped us win medals. My thinking is we are trying to develop future teammates for them. And that's the idea. I mean, right now they're riding alongside of myself, McLean, Kent. In a few years, 5 to 10 years, they're going to be the quote unquote old guard. And we're trying to develop riders that they can have join them to win future championships.
It reminds me of something that, okay, so one of the things, this was so inspiring, some of the things that those who are involved in Road to the Top sent me. And I'd asked permission to be able to quote this from someone who's involved in this initiative. Part of what drove me to want to be involved with Road to the Top is what I feel that the sport is being driven more on money, less on talent and horsemanship. I feel like there is a ton of young people that can't afford the horsepower that it takes to compete right now. I feel like money is making the sport smaller, but not better. I want to make sure that people are allowed to pursue their passions with horses in a way that takes them to the top of the sport, but also allows them to remain ethical at the same time. Something else that was mentioned was diversity. And that's something that I felt so inspired by. Because what you're talking about here is you're saying we're wanting to mentor riders that will become their teammates. And it reminds me of the importance of a diversity of background, diversity of thought, diversity of approach. And that has to come not from a homogenous upbringing or background, that it's actually, I think, one of the greatest values that we have in sport is that at the end of the day, when you're in the arena, whether that's of any kind, that it's such a beautiful mixture and diversity of athletes, that's what contributes to its depth.
Yeah.
And it's and so when you speak about bringing riders up and mentoring them alongside other riders that might have more financial capacity within their own families or within their own social structure, that it seems to me important for the depth of the sport itself, for its culture, that we have a diverse group of riders.
I would agree. I mean, I think that that's been a thing that's, overwhelmingly, I would say, in the early part of our sport, 50, 60, 70, whatever. I think that it was probably less diverse, but because it was actually riders who didn't come from a vast financial background.
Right.
Back in the 70s and 80s, the USCT, you donated horses to the USCT, and the chef to keep, Bert Denemeth, would say, okay, I'm going to give this horse to Conrad Holmfeld, and I'm going to give this horse to Michael Matz.
Yeah.
And, that's that's how the sport went. Robert Ridland was one of those, our chef to keep now. So he knows how it was then. And so in a way, we're looking to make this a little, not a full circle thing, because it'll never get back to that point. But I think, now we do have riders that have the means to support themselves.
The means and the talent.
And the talent. Right? Absolutely.
Because like going to the Olympics, you have to have proven yourself.
These riders are no matter how much financial support they have from their families or their social group, as you said, they are talented. They are hardworking. They are driven. They are horsemen. They have studied the sport. You don't get there. It doesn't matter. Yes, maybe they can buy a better horse that's further along. Yeah. They still have to ride it. They still have to deal with the pressure. They still have to, and
they have to come back and do it again
and again. And listen, I full kudos to them. I have been supportive of that right from the beginning. And if they can do it, then for me, they deserve everything that they get. But then there's the other group that doesn't have that financial backing.
Absolutely.
And so it'd be nice if there is a person in that group that has all those same attributes, then it'd be nice that we find a way to get those horses to them. And again, it was easier back in the 70s and 80s when Bert Denemeth just, said, okay, well, here's Balbuca. We're going to give it to Conrad. Where I could say today, well, here's Balutinu. I'm going to give it to so-and-so, Carly or Trent. It would just be interesting to see how it works, that if we do have access to some better horses to give these kids, to get them going, I think they would get going. I think they can fly.
I love it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what you are teaching them, because there's a big difference between mentorship and teaching. And I think there is an absolute importance in both. At Conaway & Associates Equine Insurance Services, they understand how special your horse is. That's why I personally chose to work with them to insure my horses before we embarked on this epic journey across the country. I chose them because their agency writes coverage in 48 states. They also work with several A-rated admitted insurance carriers, so you have options and can select the insurance coverage that best suits your own unique needs. Having confidence in my insurance selection allows me peace of mind on this journey. I can focus on my horses and embrace these learning opportunities of a lifetime. Who better to trust with the insurance of your horse than a team of fellow horse people? Conaway & Associates was founded in 1992 by Laura Conaway, herself a Grand Prix show jumping rider. Laura and her experienced team have built a strong reputation as a reliable partner, building relationships through service, trust, and understanding. Explore www.conaway.net or call them for competitive, personalized insurance coverage options from their team of like-minded equine insurance professionals. Whether we're deep in the Rocky Mountains or down in the heat of Florida, we trust Yeti products on this journey of a lifetime. From the Roadie 48 cooler to the Yeti mugs you see right here in the studio, Yeti coolers and drinkware are built tough, smooth, and ready for anything the horse world has in store for us. Great riders are made, not discovered, and NF Plus is where that work happens in a way that feels true to the sport and true to your horse. Inside NF Plus, you get coaching you can take straight to the barn. From jump schools that sharpen your eye, to pull work that organizes your horse, to mindset sessions that keep you steady when the pressure hits. What sets NF Plus apart is the way it teaches the whole rider. It blends technical skill with the emotional and mental side of riding, the part most other platforms skip. The trainers you learn from have lived the pressure at the top, and they break down the decisions, the feel, and the judgment calls that most trainers never get to develop at that level. It is ethical, horse first, and grounded in the kind of real sport experience you cannot fake. NF Plus is where you learn the things usually reserved for elite barns, without the price tag. So let's talk about what you are teaching them, because there's a big difference between mentorship and teaching. And I think there is an absolute importance in both, but they are different. And I thought it'd actually be a good opportunity for us to, in this moment, clarify the difference, because it sounds like you're doing both with these young riders.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. There's a big difference with that. And I wouldn't say that I would be teaching Carly.
Cool.
Yeah, I would say that a lot of what she is learning, it comes from just being submerged in what we do.
Beautiful.
So she's yes, I'm helping her school her horses, teaching her how to develop young horses, giving her ideas. She's not in a quote unquote lesson ever.
Or
It's
a
just
program.
Yeah. I mean, she basically what's on her is she has to have the motivation and the desire to pay attention and listen and watch and learn. How much she chooses to take, that's on her. Where I'm not force feeding anything. I can't speak to Katie's but I would say it would be very similar.
Yeah. Knowing Katie a little bit, I would imagine it's very similar.
Very similar. But, my sister, Mary Elizabeth, is probably, I think, one of the world's best at stables.
And straight up, I would agree. Over the years, she's amazing.
She is amazing. And so, Carly gets to spend probably more time with her than me. My grooms are, I think, some of the best in the world.
Yes.
She gets to watch this. She gets to see the vets, the farriers, the things we go through, worrying about this horse, that horse. What's the schedule going to be? How are we making a schedule? There's just so much that for me, I think what I hope she's taken from the 10 months now that she's been in it is just how much there is to learn and to pay attention to.
The big picture, it's to me what you're describing. It's the holistic horsemanship that goes in to whatever endeavor. And I mean, if she comes from a reigning dynasty, then she'd know that in that side of the sport as well,
it'd be the same.
It's 365 days of the year, 24/7. Every little macro decision that you make has an impact on the result. And that's so powerful. And that's where mentorship, I think, is the distinguished differently to teaching. Teaching is the lesson. It's often done in a structure. It's you're in a program and there might be some goals, some sort of performance goals that you have based around that. Mentorship is around point of view. It's your philosophy. It's experience. It's how do you approach the experiences that you're taking on. And in so many walks of life, mentorship is actually vital to the function of an industry or the function of a sport. Mentorship is, I think, an art form also to be a great mentor and to be a great mentee.
Well, I think I agree with you. And I think that the interesting thing is, we're doing what we're doing. But what we hope is that, other riders or other people, professionals at our level, whether they want to become a road to the top mentor or they just want to do it themselves, I hope that they become inspired by doing this, because it is how our sport will continue. If our generation isn't taking the time to really bring on the next generation, all of these things like that. I referred to Bert Denemeth, George Morris, Gordon Wright, who was back in the 60s, but my mother trained with him. I learned from that. And hopefully this generation learns from our generation of what we've learned, and we pass it down. If people aren't doing that, I think that the real art of the horsemanship end of this gets lost, and that would be a real shame. And it'd be easy to do, because in this world of lots of money and fast pace and horse shows every week and keeping up with the Joneses, it's easy to forget why we're doing this.
Yeah, it's something I often I say now more. It seems more now than before, let's say 10 years ago, even when I started Noelle Floyd in 2012, it seems like there's a bit more of a scarcity mindset, which is the feeling, and it's this concept or a mindset that there is only so much. Let's say there's only so many slices of a pizza and you have to fight really hard for your piece.
Yes.
Right? Which is, I would say, again, the antithesis to here's all this knowledge and experience and success I've had in my career. Let me impart that on the next generation.
Yeah.
There's a saying that says to live a full life, you spend the first part of it learning, you spend the second part earning, and then you spend the final part returning. And that if you do that, you will have lived fully and you will have contributed fully. Do you believe that to be true?
I hope that that's true. I mean, I think that that's a great saying, and sadly, I'm in the last stage.
But it's one of
But
the
it's a
most
good
enriching.
stage. It is. I mean, I think that that's something that I've always been, passionate about, even trying to do the things that I've done along the way with certain charities or donating lessons, donating that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that I would have ever had sort of the financial means to donate a lot of money to a cause that I was passionate about. But in my own way, I've tried to do it, through time or just caring.
I would
And
also say that knowledge can be more valuable than money.
often, yes. I mean, in many ways, it is more valuable.
Yeah.
And in this case, I think that Katie and I have definitely felt, she helped me. She mentored me, I might add. We skipped on that.
Well, we'll go
But
into it. Let's
yeah,
get into that.
But I think that both she and I just have noticed that this was missing. There are many people out there that are helping kids, within their business, or, bringing top junior riders that come from no money. They keep them on, they employ them, they do things, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
But we just know there's no one that is saying, okay, these kids look Olympic. These look like they could actually be our next McLean Ward, and it needs to happen. And so,
Yes. It's a call to, I would say, Road to the Top is a call to action. It's a statement, and I think it's amazing that two highly successful women in the sport are making that statement.
Yeah.
I love it.
That it's great. Yeah.
I
mean, we're not excluding the boys, but
no.
But yeah, we
Hey guys, and that's a hit, like call to action right now.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
exactly.
if you want to be a part, like Laura's just a phone call away.
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, listen, the more money we can raise, the more kids we can take into the program.
Yeah.
And obviously we'd love to branch out to other professionals who've been there and done that, and let them do it. I mean, mine and Katie's way is not the only way. I'd love for them to experience other professionals' opinions, just like you said. I mean, and I say this to Carly, and I try to instill this in her. Just because this is the way we do things doesn't mean it's the only way. But this is the way you're going to learn now. Yeah. And then you may, when you're out on your own and you become, the famous Carly McCutcheon, you may say, you know what, I'm going to try this a little different. I'm going to do something different. And that may work for her. Yeah. And that's great. I think that's also what mentoring is you show them your way of doing it, what has made you successful. Yes. I fully believe that you sign on completely. So, when you're being mentored, you do what that mentor does. Yeah. When you're then on your own or in another program,
you have the opportunity to innovate or evolve or diversify. Exactly.
Keep what you really like, discard what you didn't like, whatever. But I think that's the important thing. And that's why we would love to have more. We definitely would love to have more students.
So how do people apply?
Online.
Okay.
Go to the Road to the Top website. Yeah. And it's a pretty fierce process. I said it's like trying to get into Harvard.
As it should be. I mean,
should be.
It's I would say this is show jumping's equivalent to Harvard.
It would be. Yeah.
A Harvard scholarship.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely. You're right.
There you
go. So it should be difficult. We're also coming up with fun ideas about that in the future of, even having writing trials and
beautiful
interview processes, and things like that. All of these things are, as as the program gets going. But yeah, I really hope that it'll continue.
I also think that's important to name. I mean, we certainly do this at Noel Floyd. It's like the application process is difficult for a reason, because you also have to want it.
Mm.
If it's too easy, then that person may not have the character and the depth of desire that is required in order to make this in order to succeed at what you're offering them as an opportunity.
Absolutely.
So it should be difficult. Just like, they say when you climb Everest, just getting to base camp is hard.
Yeah.
Well, as it should be. You're climbing the largest mountain in the world.
Yeah. You could die. Yes. No, it's true. Now, it's funny because Katie has said from the beginning, she wants applicants and she wants kids that there is nothing else they want to do in their life than this.
Yeah.
They don't care what it takes. This is all they were ever going to do. And I know that's how she was.
Yeah.
I know that's how I was.
Yeah.
I know that's how McLean was. Mm-hmm. I know that's how Kent was. It wasn't even a thought.
Yes.
That we would do something different. And yeah, that's what we're looking for. I mean, and again, there will be many kids out there who'll say, "Oh, that's what I want." Well, then they also have to have talent.
Yes.
And they also have to have, just that certain sort of special quality that makes it so that they can get there. But yeah, it's definite that they've got to want it.
I was also thinking that one of the incredible opportunities within this program is because it sounds like something that you guys are holding true in this endeavor, is that each of these individual riders develop an independent thought, right?
Absolutely.
So there has been criticism of the American system that you become sort of indoctrinated into a way of thinking.
Mm-hmm. I definitely do not want that. I think that the one thing's for sure is there cannot be constant hand-holding. And that's what I was saying. Listen, we're there where they can take in as much or as little as they choose. I am not going to put them on a leash and say, you must pay attention to this, you must pay attention to that. That's on them.
Yeah.
And just as I didn't have that. I mean, I started as a professional when I was 19 and I had nobody. And then I worked for people along the way. I learned a lot along the way, but basically always it was me. And they've got to have that, same desire. They've got to want to do it. So
I wonder if that life experience also prepares you for what I imagine to be quite a lonely experience at moments, right? Because it's sort of a unique sport that we're in, where you are partnered with a horse. That is your partner through the whole experience. It's so extraordinary. And you have to go to bed with yourself the night that something goes well or the night that something doesn't go well. Mm-hmm. And there is an element of, you have your people around you, but at the end of the day, you were the person in the arena.
Yep.
Making however many thousand micro decisions in the matter of 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a very unique endeavor that we do, like that. It's it's kind of like the mental game of golf and the competitive environment of downhill ski racing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good combination.
Yeah. And so there is an element of loneliness in this, that you at the end of the day have to make peace with the decisions that you yourself made, because the horse is there partnering with you, and at the end of the day the horse is in a lot of ways is partnered with you, but they're not going to process the experience the way that you did, right? They're going to show up the way that you've asked them to show up, and they will show up to the best of their ability on the day. You, on the other hand, as the human athlete, you're going to be the one that has to sit and live with, for better or worse.
Yeah.
So when you talk about you just being you, I wonder whether some of the kids that have that less opportunity, they earn that grit, that ability to stand autonomously earlier because they don't have a safety net.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, this is always been the discussion, and that is, yes, when you're winning in the show ring, is you're relying on that to pay for your room and board
Yeah.
or your food.
Yeah.
It becomes a much different mindset than when there's no consequences.
Right.
And
When the world does not end if you don't
exactly.
win.
No. And and that's just the way it is.
Mhm.
That's just life. I think the lonely aspect of it, I never ever felt sort of alone,
Mm.
in that, the horses were always my friends. So, you don't I think that learning to deal with failure
Mhm.
no matter how many people are surrounding you or how much support you have, that's a difficult topic. And I think the thing that really got me through it early on in my career, really early, was the realization that whatever mistake I make has been made millions of times before by the best. I sat and watched a class. I was a junior, and it was at Washington, and it was a working hunter handy class. And great riders were in that class. Michael Matz was in the class. Katie Prudent was in the class. Leslie Howard was in it. Don Stewart, he was one of the best. And I watched the class, and round after round, they made some huge mistakes. And I sat there and I thought, these people are untouchable. I can't believe they just chipped in, or I can't believe they just missed a lead change, or I can't, and it was like a defining moment for me when I realized that I wasn't just the loser that made those mistakes, that the best of the best make mistakes. We're dealing with an animal. We're dealing with no one is perfect. And I think that it's very important that, if you want to make it, you've got to learn to handle failure, because it will happen regularly. How you can process that is what will make you good or great.
So good. Let's talk about your mentors.
Yeah. Wow. Well, there's so many. I'm afraid I don't. These questions always scare me because I know I'll forget somebody. But my mother trained me early, so I'd list her for sure. She instilled in us the horse bug.
Amazing.
And when I say us, my sister and I, because we did it together, always right from the beginning.
Yeah, and that is such a special thing I've always appreciated in is to see you and your sister and the way that you guys work together and just
Yeah, I'm just so
very special.
We're very lucky. I mean, I think it's just, yeah, I don't know why it worked, but it just worked. But we're 16 months apart. So, even
not quite Irish twins.
not quite.
But
I'm like, wow, Mom, that was aggressive. Anyways, yeah, we had we had the same friends in high school, in grade school. Everything was always together. So I think it was just a natural process. But I worked for a person named Rodney Bross back when I was like 20, 21, 22. He taught me a lot. He's a very good horseman. He was very difficult. He was not an easy person to ride for. Lots of mental things that were hard.
Yeah.
But just as I was saying earlier, I took the things that I thought were good, and I discarded the things that I thought weren't good. I then basically started my own business, did things along the way, and then I would say Emil and Paul Hendricks from Holland. They were my first sort of European connection, and how lucky I was that they were the ones I met because they're like family to me now. And you know, they helped me in more ways than I could probably ever explain, just for everything, not just the riding, but you know, horse picking,
So it's like
business,
true mentorship then.
true mentorship. And then Katie
Yeah.
came along, like a fairy godmother. And, you know, and funny enough, I was suspect in the beginning because, you know, it was the year 2000. I was in my 30s, well into my 30s. I had Bobby. He was barely a year.
And Bobby is your son.
Yeah, Bobby's my son, and Bob. And I had a very nice horse, Liberty, who I hadn't been able to do a lot with because I'd been pregnant. I got her when she was 7. I instantly became pregnant. You know, kind of missed a lot of her 8-year-old year. And so when she turned 9, I was here in Florida, and actually she was amazing. I think I was second in 2 of the Grand Prix.
Wow.
And Katie came to me and, you know, she said, you know, what are your plans with this horse? And of course, immediately I thought she was going to try to buy her. And I said, well, you know, I think I'm going to, you know, I'm going to do the Olympic trials for experience and then, you know, go from there. And she said, well, I think you could make the Olympic team, but you need to get more experience with her. So I'm putting together a group to go to Europe, and I think you need to come. And I said, oh, there's no chance I can afford that. And she said, I will make it so that you can afford it. You get to Europe and you do this. And so we went over, we did Le Bowl, we did a show in France called Saint Lazare, and then we did Rome. And I mean, it changed the trajectory of my world, really. I ended up leading rider in Rome. I had gotten the horse called Anthem by then, so I had those 2, Liberty and Anthem, and they were just amazing.
Talk about very great American.
Yeah, we were very
patriotic. I love it.
And I came back and did the Olympic trials. I won the first phase in Gladstone, which was just a miracle.
Wow.
And ultimately ended up making the Olympic team. So, I mean, Katie as that person was just, I can never probably repay what she did for me. And that's, and one of the reasons why I so admire her and have stayed friends with her, because just she had no reason to do that. There was no advantage for her whatsoever. And yet she did it. So this is sort of the reason why I want to try to follow along with that. And then lastly, and definitely not leastly, would be Nick.
Skelton.
Yep. He's not only been my partner, but I think I've learned so much just seeing, seeing things from a different perspective. Being from England, their system is sort of polar opposite from the United States.
Totally.
And so, you know, hearing his ideas of how things should be done versus what I grew up learning has been, I hope it's been very helpful for me, because I still believe in a lot of what we do in the United States. I believe in our system to an extent, but then I see his, and I see the reason that they are a nation of very strong riders. They're a tiny country. I mean, they're barely, I don't know, I think Virginia is bigger.
Yeah.
And yet they've got depth.
They punch well above their weight.
They do. And so it's been very helpful. And I feel like he also helps sort of take my riding up to another level of just competitiveness and strategy.
Yeah.
You know, and he also is an incredible horse picker. I mean, that man
doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I mean, he can see a 5-year-old and say, yeah, that's going to win Auckland one day, and
wow,
he's been right. So, anyways, yeah. So I would say those are sort of the primary people, and then also the people I grew up who hired me when I was 12, Kathy Paxson and Ann Keenan. They were sort of the ultimate horse people. You know, nothing was ever done unless it was for the benefit of the horse. And I worked for them from age 12 till 18, 19.
Very
And
impressionable years.
yeah, and we did some crazy things. We had lessons with no bridles, and we had to learn how to ride with out using reins. Just fun, crazy things.
Yeah.
And I think they instilled in me the compassion that I have for horses.
And that has always been tangible in all the years that I've known you. It's tangible.
Well,
the love that you have for your horses and how you are with your horses.
Yeah. I have to say that, this is why we do it. If you're doing
Do you
it for
think it's
any
why
reason,
everybody does it?
I don't know. I can't imagine that you want to put yourself through all the angst and hard work and, all of that if you didn't love them. I think you'd have to go find another career that was a little less stressful.
A little more easeful.
Yeah. But I think, at the end of the day, we do it because we love them. You just want to be around them. There's something about it that they give you calm and peace, and I don't know, I love it. But
it's a very special partnership all of us in the horse world get to participate in, right? It's this meeting of minds, meeting of two species from very different ways of life that come together to form this in this pursuit of symbiosis. It's just so unique, unlike anything.
It is unlike anything. We're lucky.
We are.
It's something I really cherish. So
as you were talking about Katie, it made me realize something, which is the opportunity that Katie gave you is feeding the opportunity that you're giving Carly. That mentorship and opportunities given is like a daisy chain that is created. So everyone who thinks, oh, the mentorship that I'm giving, it won't amount to anything. Well, I wonder whether the data would suggest otherwise, because I think mentees become mentors because the opportunity is so, like you said, it's changed the trajectory of my life. And here you are trying to change the trajectory of others.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I know Katie and many riders feel very strongly that George was their mentor. I know George took many riders on early in his teaching, and I never had that opportunity. I got him as a chef to keep, which was great. But and I think that's why Katie did the same, and she refers to that all the time. So yeah, I would agree that I think if it's done in a way that is truly mentoring,
yes,
I don't see how the mentee couldn't recognize that and
want to pass it forward. What is it?
Yeah.
The certain term, pay it forward.
Pay it forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The other thing that when you were talking about your partnership with Nick and your partnership and your collaborative, you guys have done so many amazing things together. But it reminded me of going back to the concept of diversity of thought, right? He comes from a very different part of the world, part of the horse world. And because you guys have come from such different walks of life, you're able to probably create this incredibly rich hybrid discussion of picking horses and creating programs and pursuing championships because you come from diverse ways of thinking.
Yeah, completely. It is, and it's been really. I believe he learns from me. I think that when he was still jumping, I think, he learned a lot from our side.
Oh yeah.
That maybe he'd admit, maybe he wouldn't, but I know he did. But yeah, I do think that there's, again, I go back to no one way is the only way. I think, Ludger Beerbaum, who, amazing guy.
Yeah. Also a great mentor.
Great mentor. Yeah. Very great mentor. And his system worked great for him and for his mentee. You can see it in his riders. But maybe wouldn't maybe I wouldn't agree with everything.
Yeah.
I may ride totally different than that. And I may have to adapt myself in a way that isn't the way he does it. Doesn't mean that what he's doing is right or wrong, but it's just another way, as they say, to skin a cat. I mean, with horses, you're just constantly looking for just that key that makes each individual horse perform to the best of its ability. So however that is, and it may work differently with Ludger to myself or to Carly, to Nick. Yeah, it's just learning to read horses, pay attention to what makes it work, just and get rid of what doesn't work. But every horse is specific.
So one last question before we do our rapid fire to wrap up the episode.
God, rapid fire. Oh, okay.
What is your message to the next generation?
I'm asked this often, so it's hard to say one thing, but I think my message to the next generation is learn from this generation and actually learn from the one before us. Study, be a student of this sport. Just because it's 2025 doesn't mean that we do things better than they did in 1955. Learn about the sport and really pay attention. And I will say, and this is no word of a lie, I learn something every day from the horses, from teaching, from dealing with people. Never think that you know more than someone else. I think that is probably the biggest mistake you can see that young people make, is they think, oh yeah, I got this. I got this all figured out. And it's fine to have confidence. That's a good quality to have, but you've got to just keep your eyes and ears open, pay attention, watch, learn. You can learn as much about what doesn't work as what does. And I think that is a really, for the next generation that's coming along that actually wants to stay in this and do it as a professional, that's probably my best bit of advice.
So good. Okay. Not my favorite. I love it's. I couldn't say one favorite part of my episodes are the rapid fire, but it's up there because it's everyone.
I'm terrible at rapid fire. We'll see.
Okay. If you could read one book to the horse world, what would it be?
Oh gosh, those are things I'm terrible at because I read constantly.
Do you?
Oh yeah, I read. I'm a avid reader. And I'm just going to say one that I just read.
Great.
It's called The Perfect Horse.
Do you know?
I forget who wrote it, but it's really interesting. It's The Perfect Horse. It's an interesting story. It's a true story, and it's how they saved the Libizoners during World War II.
Oh, I know this book.
Yeah.
It's on my list. It's supposed to be remarkable.
It's very, very good, and it's very educational. And so just touching on what I just said, it would be a good way for people to hear names and learn about the sport. So
cool.
I'll just go with that one. That one was easy.
No, that's a great pick. Okay. Who is the most iconic horse in history?
Gem Twist.
Oh, good choice.
Yeah.
Most undervalued skill as a rider?
Humility.
Who is the greatest horseman or horsewoman in history?
The problem is I can probably only touch on the people that I've known. And it's still hard. That's a really tough one. Rodney Jenkins.
Okay. And then last question, and I'm very interested to hear your answer to this. Mares, stallions, or geldings?
It's a toss-up between mares and geldings. Stallions are definitely out. ultimately, I got to go with geldings because I've just had so many good ones.
Yeah. Why?
Love a good mare, though.
Because I know, I was like,
I ride a lot of
don't maybe
mares.
as much with mares as geldings.
Yeah, no, I have a lot. I mean, but then I think about like Anthem, Cedric.
Right.
Yeah,
Cedric.
Cedric. So yeah, I mean, he's right. He's like the number 3 man in my life.
Well deserved.
Yes.
Ooh, that horse.
Yeah, he was amazing. Balatinu. But then I've also had some great mares, so it's a toss up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know now why you picked gelding, because Cedric was like,
Yeah, he's the guy.
oh, what a horse.
Yeah. So, anyways,
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Laura.
thank you so much for having me. Hopefully at least people will sort of understand what it's all about and become involved in any way. Follow us on Instagram, anything. So
join the community, y'all.
Yeah.
Today's episode is brought to you by Conaway and Associates Equine Insurance Services. The friendly and knowledgeable team at Conaway and Associates brings together more than 30 years of experience to offer a wide range of insurance services, including horse insurance, farm insurance, and liability insurance. Visit www.conaway.net to explore options or get in touch today. Thank you, Yeti, for supporting us on this journey of a lifetime as we traverse the heart of the horse world.